Alright guys, today we are going to ride the FZ09. We're at Ed Cycles in Cleveland, Tennessee. This bike is an absolute beast. It has different modes, including an all-out power mode, which they were telling me about. 3-cylinder, 900cc roughly. I think it's a little under 900 actually, but they round up for the FZ09. It's a sweet looking bike. Let's get started. Alright guys, the FZ09. This is a high revving, very torquey piece of machinery. A lot more twitchy, a lot more grabby, should I say, I guess, with the torque than the FZ-07. But it is a mean piece of machinery. Our red line looks to be about 11,000. When I start to pull on the throttle, I can feel the front end lift. It is a lot of torque, a lot of power. The styling, let's talk about that first. Different headlight, different setup, different display than on the FZ-07. Still has a similar styling. Comfort-wise, the seat, I would say, is much more comfortable than the FZ-07. The seat itself has a lot more padding. The FZ-07 didn't necessarily have a bad seat, but after about 10-15 minutes, I felt like the vibration in the seat, because it didn't have a whole lot of padding, felt like my ass was going to vibrate off of my body. Now, granted, that could be fixed with simply a replacement seat. That's not a huge deal, but the FZ-09 has a much more comfortable, thicker padded seat for longer hauls. The brake lever is adjustable on the stock FZ-09, but the clutch lever is not. Of course, you can get replacement levers for anything nowadays, but that's the situation from the factory. Handlebar position, the upright sitting position, very comfortable. My legs are tucked further behind my body in more of a sport bike position riding this, as compared to the FZ-07, where they were a little more relaxed and a little bit more straight down. I feel like my legs are a bit more cramped actually on the FZ-09 than on the FZ-07. So a bit of a different body position regarding the legs. Other than that, very similar seating positions. The acceleration is nuts. The acceleration in the FZ-09 is absolutely nuts. If you guys haven't seen this thing in action, I have no room to do it out here where I'm test riding, but I'll throw a link down in the description to a video this guy did accelerating in the FZ-09. He got to 60 in about 3 seconds and 100 in about 5.5. It's fast as balls. It is incredible. Suck you right off the back of the machine. So the styling, if you guys like this kind of hooligan bike style, very angular on the Yamaha FZ series, this is really no different. It's very nice. Comfort is good. If you're into sport bike positions, you'll feel just at home on this bike. For me, coming from a cruiser where I have forward pegs, going from forward past middle all the way back, it's a little bit of a cramped feeling, but I'm sure I could get used to that. Power on this bike leaves nothing to be desired. The power on this bike is satisfying, it's there, it's perfect, and then some. Oh, mama. I really hope there isn't a cop out here. Wow. Sorry to the boys in blue. I might be going a little bit faster. Who knows? I'm going to blur out the speedometer anyway, just for kicks. But Yeah, if there's any boys in blue out here, sorry about that. But this is a test ride. I gotta feel the power. You get me. Oh, yeah. All right, now we've talked about styling, comfort, and power, which there is more than enough of. I would argue maybe a little too much. This is so easy to get in trouble with. Let's talk about handling. Handling, it's not quite as nimble and flickable as perhaps the FZ-07, but it is a bigger bike. It's a 3-cylinder engine. It's got a lot more weight to it, and so with a heavier bike comes a little bit less maneuverability. That being said, the maneuverability is not terrible. I mean, it's more than you would get out of like a Road King or a big touring bike or any sort of Harley Softail perhaps. So the handling is much better than that, but not quite to the level of the FZ-07. The only drawback to all this power is it makes the test rides way too short because I'm back to the dealership way too fast. Speaking of the dealership, if you guys are in the Cleveland, Tennessee or Chattanooga, Tennessee area, go hit up Ed's Cycles. They are the nicest people there, family run and owned, I think, for some ridiculous amount of years. They're a very nice dealership, long standing in the community, and they will just take great care of you. Nicest people there. All right, and thank you to whatever church this is for letting me use your parking lot. I appreciate that. Let's talk about some other features of the bike in regards to riding. This is the first time I think I've really had to stop here. Flat footing it, I am 5'7" for reference, and I'm in 1 inch or 1.5 inch tall heel motorcycle boots, and I have about a 29-inch inseam. Oh, there's so much power left over on this thing. It's unreal. I have about a 29-inch inseam, and it's difficult, not difficult I should say, but I'm stretching it to flat foot this thing when I'm at a stop. So if you are a vertically challenged individual, you might find this this ride to be just a tad tall when you're trying to flat foot it at a stop. But get yourself a good set of motorcycle boots with a heel and you'll probably be okay. But yeah, it's a little bit tall. Let's talk about braking. Anti-lock brake, front and rear. In the front you have dual floating disc brakes, single disc brake in the rear, ABS all around. This bike also has optional, I say optional, it comes standard on the bike, but you have the option of turning it on and off. Traction control. It has 3 levels on the traction control system. Level 1, level 2, and off. Speaking of levels, you also have different power modes on here. You have mode A, which is your sport mode, but we just call it all-out power, I guess. B, which is a little bit tuned down for the lazy Sunday ride through the park. And then standard mode, which I'm not really sure what standard is. I guess it's just a little bit more, so I think it's a little higher than B, but less than A. I'm not sure. I've kept this thing in A the whole time, and I have no intention of taking it off because it is too much fun. You have a nice digital display, digital tach, digital speed. Definitely not your cruiser type gauges. Sorry, but this is just not that type of bike. And let's talk about suspension for a minute. The suspension on this bike is very good. You have adjustability with the rear shock. I am not sure about the front shocks, but the front suspension is an inverted fork, so much better with the dampening. It rides much smoother over bumps with the inverted fork system. Overall, this bike is just an absolute beast. I'm going to give you guys my opinion at the end of the video after I ride it just a little bit more here. But overall, if I had to choose between this and perhaps the FZ-07, my personal opinion, while I like the looks of this bike a little bit better than the FZ-07, and looks do play an important role in our bikes, we want them to look good, it's not the most important thing, and I would probably go with the FZ-07 for two reasons. Number one, it's a lot less money, and if finances aren't a problem, then hey, go for the FZ-09, why not? And secondly, the riding position for me on the FZ-07 is far more comfortable, especially as someone coming from a cruiser, having my legs tucked back behind me. I just feel cramped, it feels uncomfortable, it feels unnatural. And I'm not a huge fan of that. Not a total deal breaker overall by any means, but that's just my opinion there. Oh, whoops, that's the horn, my bad. Just my opinion there, just my 2 cents overall. The mirrors on this bike are fantastic. They stick out beyond my arms and they're so useful. Kind of like on the FZ-07, the most useful mirrors that I have really tried out on any motorcycle overall have been on the FZ-07 and the FZ-09. And that's a minor thing, but hey, it's something you gotta have. Alright guys, I think it's time to head back to the dealership here, unfortunately. Otherwise they're gonna think I stole this thing. Let's talk about engine braking. Engine braking on this is very smooth. Surprisingly so, with as torquey as it is. You have to go really far out on the clutch, almost all the way out, to let the clutch actually engage. And of course that can be adjusted with some adjustable levers, so not a big thing. But I'm having a little bit of an issue with getting a perfectly smooth transition on my clutch. The FZ-07 was a little bit better, but again, it also needed some adjustable levers. The max speed of this bike is 131 or 132 miles per hour. Now that is restricted by Yamaha. They've restricted it to that. The bike itself can go much more. I've seen guys in some videos, they de-restricted their bike and they've pushed it well over 150. You have the power here. Yamaha just decided to put a little bit of a cap on that, and I think with good reasoning. Well guys, that's gonna do it for this video review and test ride of the Yamaha FZ09. It is a fantastic bike. I'm gonna tilt the camera down a little bit so you can see how gorgeous it is, that red metal flake paint on it. It's a great bike, very fast, agile, comfortable, has more of that sport bike positioning, so those of you who are coming from a sport bike, you will find yourselves right at home on this baby. You really will. 3-cylinder engine, more than enough power, very torquey, lots of great features. Overall, fantastic bike. I personally will still go with the FZ-07 if I was to choose between them, just for the bit of the comfort, and that's a little more relaxed for me, and the price. But that's a personal preference, and you guys might want to go for the FZ-09. So check out your local Yamaha dealer, try these bikes out for yourself if you haven't already. And you guys know the drill. Subscribe to the channel. That really helps me out. We just crossed over 1,000 subs, so I thank you all so much for that. You guys are awesome. Hit the thumbs up button. That feeds my ego. My ego is starving. It needs to be fed. Hit that button. comment down below what you like, what you didn't like. And I'm definitely wanting to hear from those of you who own an FZ-07 or FZ-09. Tell me what your favorite things about them are, or what your least favorite things about them are. I'd love to hear from you guys and get some opinions on this motorcycle. So until next time, everybody, ride safe, ride on, and I will catch you all later. Deuces.